Hello and welcome. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. You're joining us live from the venue of Raisina Dialogue 2025 here in New Delhi, the Taj Palace Hotel. Today is, of course, the third and final day of the summit. A summit, of course, where we've seen a lot of deliberations, a lot of dialogue, and, of course, a lot of consensus as well. The theme has been encapsulated in a multiple of the sessions here. Peace, planet, people, of course, remember, was the theme. Kalchakra 2025 of this year's Raisina Dialogue. And we have seen, focused conversations on those themes. It's been power-packed. We've seen, of course, the US intelligence chief here. We've seen the foreign minister of Ukraine here. We've seen, of course, the Prime Minister of India here. We've seen the Prime Minister of New Zealand here. So a host of dignitaries, really. And multiple other foreign ministers, of course, of various other nations, geopolitical experts, think tanks, students. It's been a, premier gathering as always here in New Delhi. And joining us on this very special day to talk about, of course, some of the outcomes of the Raisina Dialogue and the way forward now for geopolicy, geoeconomics in India and for the world is a special power-packed panel. We have live with us now Gregoire Roos. He is a geopolitical expert. He's also head of political dialogue at the BMW Foundation. We have also live with us now Yashraj Akashi. He is senior ambassador for the TED program and TED.com. He's also founder of the Edge community. He's live with us as well. Vikram Limsi is joining us as well. He's a business and policy consultant. He is founder and managing partner for Helicon Consulting. And we also have Sviatoslav Yurash live with us, member of parliament from Ukraine. In fact, he's the youngest MP in Ukraine currently. So let me begin with you first, Gregoire. How has been your experience, and let me quickly ask you to come a bit closer. How has been your experience at the Raisina Dialogue 2025 so far, and what have been your main takeaways of these 3 days in deliberations?
Well, absolutely excellent. I think the level of diversity of the voices we've heard in terms of not just geographies, but also perspectives and ways that we approach common problems, but from different angles, has been uplifting, in an age where everything seems to be just simplified to the extreme. So I think this just helped us better understand the complexity of the geopolitical developments. The second, which I think is extremely important, is the diversity of the profiles. The business was here, policy was here, thought leaders and intellectuals were here, journalists were here, from everywhere, from Germany, from Europe, from Africa, from Latin America. I mean, I just out of a session about India and Latin America. So you have every single discussion that you might not have actually in other fora, you have them here. The conclusion, and perhaps the most important point, is that Raisina has showed over the past few days that India is the place that matters to bring all those sometimes conflicting perspectives together, and through a spirit of dialogue and cooperation, make them engage. And we need that, I think more than ever. And I think that's actually what Shashi Tharoor, the chairman of your Foreign Affairs Committee, underlined yesterday, saying that India under Prime Minister Modi has managed to develop a voice of its own to talk to everyone. I think it's precious, and I come from Europe. Europeans should cherish and promote that.
Okay. I will come back to you on India and European relations, and also, of course, on European relations with the world, particularly to do with trade, in just a second. But let me quickly get you in here first, Sviatoslav, to talk, of course, a bit about now how your experience has been. Of course, you were telling us about how you have such an old association with Raisina, but now being here as a member of parliament, representing your country here, your foreign minister as well were here. For you, what have been the big takeaways from this summit, particularly because the theme is peace? And for your country, I think that is most important right now, isn't it, to have peace?
Nobody wants peace more than Ukrainians. The problem is that we want the peace that lasts. We've learned over the many years of the fighting, through the decades of us battling the Russian invasions of all kinds, that a piece of paper is nothing for Russia. So we want something more than just a piece of paper when we have that peace or a ceasefire or anything else that comes about. Therefore, we ask for a conversation of a lasting peace, just peace, not just a peace for a moment that our kids have to fight our battles for us, or our grandkids for that matter. We believe that we should be our own nation, and we will fight for that if need be. Alone need be. The point is that we are asking the world to listen. When we see the biggest nation on earth try and destroy the biggest nation in Europe, the world will learn the consequences of that. And again, we are thankful for India's position, which is proving crucial. With India coming to Ukraine, trying to talk to us, understand us, listen to us. And we want much more of that. And that's why it's not just myself or my imperfections who is here. Many more Ukrainians have come, many more delegations. Yesterday our foreign minister was here. And I must say that we'll continue to engage India in every single way, because we believe that India will decide the fate of the 21st century.
Well, something else that happened yesterday was the phone conversation between Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump. How do you react to it as a Ukrainian member of parliament?
It is very clear how unserious Putin is about peace in Ukraine. Very clear that he hasn't changed his goals in this sense. He's trying to deprive my nation of sovereignty, independence and territorial integrity.
But he's saying he's ready to a 30-day ceasefire on infrastructure.
He was saying many things throughout many years of his presidency. I love this compilation of all the promises he made about Ukrainian borders, sovereignty and our independence. Then he's breaking every one of them throughout all the years that he's been president. So the point for us is the same. We have fought for our independence, integrity and sovereignty, and we will continue to fight for that battle. The world is joining us in one way or the other. Thankfully, India is there with us as well.
Yes, absolutely. Let me quickly get you in here as well now, Yashraj, to talk now, of course, also a bit about what has stood out in this Raisina dialogue for you, as a keen observer and participant and delegate. Also for you, as far as these collaborations go as well, do you believe it only gets closer through such summits as far as people-to-people ties are concerned, bringing India closer with so many other nations and, individuals who are here?
Absolutely. I think we are in the age of ideas being a currency. Ideas matter and change the world, and today you can see it, right? From India being just a developing country to a Vishwa Guru or a Vishwa Mitra, it's actually playing a role. I'm seeing so many people get together and discuss a better future. I don't think that can happen in any part of the world. It's very rare to have an equal conversation and have an opinion that everyone is able to chime into. Right? Today you can see everyone has extreme views, but go inside. What Raisina has been able to do is get everyone together, and I think that's what we Indians can do. We can set an example for the world to come together, and I see this so much that these ideas, when they start moving in a place, they start affecting change, surely, steadily, right? So I'm an observer to that. And I felt amazing. I think Samir and his team have done an excellent job of getting people to feel equal. You go to a conference of this sort anywhere in the world, sometimes people don't talk to each other. Right? Out here we see everyone being equal, have a viewpoint.
As far as now geoeconomics is concerned as well, and Vikram, if I can quickly draw you in here, how do you see, such, collaborations helping our economy? Because, of course, we are seeing bilaterals happening as well. We are seeing, of course, a big focus on trade as well in various sessions, because the whole world, in a way, is gripped by this, two T's, trade and tariff.
Well, there you've absolutely rightly said that. Actually, at the top, geopolitics and geoeconomics are interrelated. They're married. And this is after 25, 30, 40 years. This is the first time there has been such a huge geopolitical disruption. And by essence and by derivative, geoeconomics is also being disrupted big time. Trade relations have also moved from blocs to bilaterals. In a sense, leading countries of the world are now wanting to have individual relationships. Europe as a continent, US and many other global south countries want to have individual relationships with each other. And India scores very high because there is a trust deficit amongst the Europeans with what's happening in Ukraine, with the Trump tariffs. There's overall trust deficit, at least in the Western world. India has been a stable kind of country when it comes to trusting partnerships which have lasted for a long time. So therefore, for India, it's absolutely brilliant. And you can see over here, right from LATAM to Africa to the global south to Europe to US, everybody's congregating over here because India is now being treated as not just China plus one, it is one of the world's most trusted trading partners. So that's what is happening, and that's what's going to be proving brilliant for India. And that's what.
Okay, let's just talk then a bit about European Union and India. Where do you see, of course, things currently, because I know there are trade negotiations happening as well. What's the kind of progress that's happened on that? What's delaying the talks as well? Interestingly, of course, there are trade talks also happening parallelly with the US and with UK as well. Gregoire. So where do you see relations currently between India and the EU and these trade talks as well?
Well, I mean, the relation, I think, is significantly improving, mostly because the European Union has realized at last that India was not just a short-term partner, but a friend. We share many common values, I mean, actually, culture, democracy, and the sense that innovation can drive the transformation of society, not just for the few, but for the many. And I think there could not be a more speaking example than India. Interestingly enough, this Raisina dialogue takes place a few weeks after the visit of Ursula von der Leyen. She actually traveled with one of the biggest delegations that we have seen in a long time. It might actually have been the biggest delegation of EU officials to Delhi. And that shows, first, that is the first follow-up on Ursula von der Leyen's Davos speech, where she clearly said, India matters. And now it's obvious that the friends become clear. And so we've seen that actually in the discussions. We've seen that Indian officials have been very keen to sit at the table with Europeans, understand the concerns. There are many, when it comes to ensuring the carbon limitation of manufactured products, to agriculture. But this will be overcome. This will be overcome because India is a gigantic market. The EU is still the biggest consumer market in the world. And so interdependency will be beneficial to everyone's growth, but not just to growth, also to security. And that means energy. As you might know, Europe has been importing more oil from India, Russian oil for that matter. But India has been a crucial solution bringer or maker in that ordeal. When it comes to trade, those are very technical discussions. As you might know, the WTO is not in the best shape, so indeed there's a lot of expectation when it comes to bilateral agreements. Everything we can hear in Berlin, Paris, but especially Brussels, is that it's for now looking good. There needs to be an understanding of the priorities of every party. And I think we'll get there. I'm very confident.
Let me get you back in here on Vikram before I go back to Yashraj and Svetoslav as well on a couple of other questions. Vikram, on of course also this $1 trillion economy dream of India. We were seeing, of course, how India is striving ahead to be the world's third largest economy. Are we well on track? Which are the sectors which you believe are driving that growth? Which are the sectors which you believe we should collaborate with? We should perhaps invite investment from. Interestingly, I heard today from the chief of army staff of the Philippines that they are looking at sourcing made in India weapons. That speaks a lot about how the defense sector is going to grow as well, and that will also help our GDP, won't it?
Oh, absolutely, Uday. We are well on track for the $1 trillion economy or the multi-trillion dollar economy. In fact, you're right. I mean, we're already selling BrahMos to Philippines. I mean, that's the first order also come in. Defense, of course, is going to drive that. But I think what's going to happen, there's not going to be one sector which is going to be, it's going to be a very democratic push. And rather from sectoral point of view, in my view, it's the states which are going to drive the economy. For example, UP is going to be $1 trillion economy. Maharashtra is going to be $X trillion economy. Tamil Nadu is going to be $X trillion. So we need to, in India, look at it from a geographical perspective rather than a sectoral perspective. Where each of our geographies has a sectoral, kind of USP. We have education somewhere, we've got defense somewhere, we've got automotive somewhere, we've got components somewhere, we've got agriculture somewhere. So in that sense, our growth is going to be very democratic. And I think it's time that, it's kind of showcased now that we are now inviting the world to engage with us, not just sectorally, but also geographically. EU, LATAM, everybody is going to, engage with us on specific niches that is beneficial to them and therefore mutually beneficial to us. And that's what is going to happen. And that's how our track to this multi-trillion dollar economy is going to. And why third or fourth? I mean, there are big swan events which are going to happen. Maybe there's a big swan event happens in China, for example, or somewhere else, for example. And there could be a big swan event happening even for India that will make us leapfrog into why just third or fourth or fifth? We could be second, we could be first, whatever it is. But We are well on track, very democratic growth across sectors, across geographies, and the kind of government and the kind of disposition that we have right now, political disposition, that whole spirit of growing the economy is, kind of spread to various states also. So everybody's charging ahead.
Yes, let me get you in here on, two of the other themes of this conference, of peace and, planet as well. Now, what should be India's role in attempting to bring about peace in the world? You spoke about how we've made strides in foreign policy earlier. We are, attempting to be a Vishwamitra, for global good, of course. I think that's so interesting that Zelensky also acknowledged it. Putin has also acknowledged it. How, the peace efforts of Prime Minister Modi has been singled out, in helping bring things to this stage as it is now, that at least the two are speaking, although through a mediator, in Donald Trump. But what should be India's role in bringing about peace, and what more can be done? Also, for a more sustainable planet. We have seen a lot of strides made forward in the climate change space as well by India. And perhaps that's also something the world can take a cue from.
I think if you noticed one big thing, I've attended ORF twice before. The conversations moved from our internal peace or our immediate peace to world peace. That change happened in less than 5 or 6 years. And that are also critical years after COVID, right? People don't just think that we have attained peace within ourselves. We're able to give peace for other nations. And I think that's a very important step towards growing as a nation. We don't just take care of people, we take care of peace and the planet. Coming to the second point, I think the same thing with the world. If we have 1.4 billion people, they need to consume, right? And if we consume sustainably, it obviously sets the mark for almost every other country. So look at how we are moving back, considering what we used to do. I always keep telling this friend at TED that we still use bullock carts. Not that we can't use a tractor, but we think about animals in a very different way. India really thought about all these things in an inclusive way. Going further, I think the world is just looking at us for examples, be it peace and be it the planet, both way around. So it's very optimistic. I think the future is where we are friends to the world and where we will teach whatever we can. And I come from that thinking. That's it.
Svetoslav, let me quickly bring you in here now on, of course, also another very, very interesting, conversation that has also happened, of course, at this summit on, European allies of Ukraine versus, of course, US support as well. As far as the efforts of Donald Trump are concerned, which direction do you believe they're headed? And do you have more hope in Donald Trump bringing you all peace or in your European friends and allies?
We can talk for a long time about the imperfections of this or that leader of America, but it's fundamental to remember that country taking security seriously is good news for that country. The fact that you have many more reminders for European Union and European nations about the needs to sustain, build up their security is a welcome message for us. We have the largest army in Europe now because of the war we are fighting on a more than 1,000-kilometer front line. So the point for us is, are the European countries taking this fundamental question, the first responsibility of a nation is security, seriously, is wonderful news. And we are seeing as the policy is changing fast all around Europe. So this discussion, this fear may be a blessing in disguise.
Do you still have faith in Zelensky?
Not just me. Ukrainians are very clear about their support for the president. The polls that independent actors, international actors, Ukrainian actors were holding from all different parts of the country is very clear about the support that he has from the Ukrainian people.
How much of an impact has the war had on your constituency and people there? And you personally?
In my telephone book, we have different sections there. Recent calls, contacts, voicemail, but there are sections called favorites. Usually used for different contacts you call most. In that section I have a number of people that I knew well, I knew personally who have perished in this war. So when I go to a church every Sunday, I can place a candle for each and every one of them. I personally, near my home when rocket fell, killing many people, I have fought in the war for the last 3 years as a machine gunner. I've seen hell of all kinds. But again, for that reason, I want my country to succeed. And I want my country to have a peace that lasts and that is sustainable.
What happens next?
Long and
What happens next? Because this phone call has happened, you're not satisfied with how it went. At least the dialogue has started. What happens
Not
next?
me. You have articles coming out from the world's media that is clarifying.
I spoke to many other foreign ministers. They also have, foreign ministers of European countries. I spoke with the former PM of Sweden today as well. They all said that they're not very happy either.
For us, we fight. For us, we battle. The Russians want to destroy us. It's very simple. Mr. Putin has written essays about this, made videos about this. Plenty. He has said this in different occasions. His goal is very simple: destruction of our statehood. We don't want that. With every poll and measurement, throughout our independence, Ukrainians wanted to be a nation and a state of their own. And we will fight for this.
Gregoire, I also want to ask you now about, the US-EU relations. Where are they headed right now?
Well, see you next year. I think there's no answer to that question. There's no answer to that question because we do not know. And what I can tell you is that all the discussions I have had in the past few weeks with senior business leaders across Europe, in Germany, of course here, is that they have no clue. They want to better understand the roots of the MAGA movement in the US because I think they're aware that it goes beyond the DC bubble. What is sure is that the transatlantic relation will remain. And all those who think or would wish that it will crumble will be proved wrong. It will evolve like every single partnership or even friendship in history and in life. But it will remain strong. It will just be redefined. I think the US administration has shed light on a few things that Europeans might have wanted to address earlier. He might have done it in a fashion that was not necessarily in line with what Europeans like to hear. But it might be positive in terms of investment in defense industry. This will have, as we actually see, you mentioned India, we see that investment in defense industry has a very positive impact on global economic competitiveness for jobs. So it will go in a direction that we cannot define now. What is certain is that President Trump and the current administration will go at some point. So we need to look at the future. The US remains the top market for European companies, but so is India now. So we will have diversification.
India also has a very close relationship, Vikram, with the United States of America. Tulsi Gabbard mentioned that yesterday. But what about the tariff issue? There is a deadline of April 2nd.
Yeah, I think tariff is a big bogey. I think they have to look at the currency first. I mean, all these countries, even the Western world, most of their currencies do not reflect their economies correctly. And as long as their currencies are overvalued and overinflated, they're going to have manufacturing. It's all right to have a great holiday in India or go have a great holiday in Sri Lanka. But at the end of the day, these countries cannot manufacture anything with that kind of $1 to $90 for India or €100 euro to India. They have to do something about their currency. Tariff is, I think, a fashionable bogey that they're playing. It's a thing that they've played in the past. I mean, quite honestly, tariff is going to impact them rather than us. So it's more of a Western world thing. Let them go ahead with that. It doesn't bother us at the end.
Okay, last couple of minutes now before we close. Let's have a lighter conversation. Swetoslav, let me bring you back in here. What is your favorite? City in India or favorite site attraction over here?
I spent many months in Kolkata. I was studying there in Kolkata, so I must give the palm of my passions to that fundamental city for my understanding of India. In Delhi, I visited multiple times, but I yet to understand the city as much as I try to understand Kolkata. So it's far from that.
What is your favorite city in India?
Spend most time there.
Okay. Have you managed to have some Indian food on this visit?
Always, plenty, and not just in this visit. Every time in Ukraine when I'm choosing, India always has the preference because the kind of spice that India has doesn't compare to anything at all.
You have a favorite dish?
Well, tikka masala is certainly.
Tikka masala.
Yes, certainly that's my favorite. But chai in general, chai is chai masala. Of course, it's something that's.
So maybe after this conversation, after this show, we'll all go and have chai together.
God bless. From your lips to the ears of the gods, as they say.
Okay. What about you, Gregoire? Have you had a chance to travel around India? What's your favorite city?
It's a trap, and I will not fall in it. I will not say what my favorite city is. What I can say is that what I have seen coming back is how wonderfully preserved the cultural heritage is. And Delhi, where we happen to be, and I arrived a few days ago, is just wonderful when it comes to Mughal mausoleums, for instance. And the way that India has managed to promote, protect, and conserve actually the Muslim and Persian cultural heritage is just outstanding, and you have extraordinary parks around. So this is always a very moving moment, and it's a very busy and lively city. We can hear that, and in those parks, you're actually in a bubble, and in these days, it's a bubble that brings peace.
Have you also tried Indian food while you've been here?
Yes, I have every single day, but I must say I have a soft spot for the tea. So
Tea as well. Oh, you are also a chai fan, like him.
I am. I can actually do without food, but I can't do without tea. So.
Okay, so we're going to have to give them tea, right? After the okay. So now, if you were to tell them to see one tourist attraction in India, or any of our international guests watching, what would that be?
Well, I think if you're going to Agra after this, the Taj, obviously, it's a story. If you're going to be here, go to Sundar Nursery. You know, it's peaceful, and it's a sign of peace too.
I think you should not miss Banaras, Varanasi. That's one town, the oldest living city in the world. That's where I would recommend all of you guys to go. And here there's the Baha'i temple over here, you know, you could do that. The Swaminarayan temple, you could do that. It's fantastic. I mean, there's too many people. Just enjoy.
I recommend something. As I've studied in Calcutta, so I also have a recommendation of Sundarbans. Sundarbans, the amazing mangrove jungle there, and seeing the ocean as well as the Ganges River, as well as the people living there and the atmosphere. It's uncomparable.
Absolutely. Well, we certainly hope that people continue to visit India for conferences like the Raisina Dialogue 2025. And of course, we're signing off because this edition is pretty much over now. But we will be back, of course, next year. And we'll also, of course, be back on NewsX, getting you the best coverage on, all the biggest news and events from, of course, across India, but across the world as well. For the time being, my thanks to all of you for joining us, taking time out for this very special show. And thank you to our viewers for watching as well. Goodbye.